and Tone Loc. Oh, wow. And they're also going to have actors from the 80s, Diane Franklin, Amanda Weiss, Robert Romanus, who is Damone from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and Tawny Katane. Also hosting will be Eddie Trunk, Downtown Julie Brown, Nita Blackwood, Alan Hunter, Mark Goodman. Unbelievable. That sounds really fun. And he says, Dave, both of you guys should consider booking this event. It would make great material for the podcast. And listen, I agree with you. However, let me remind you guys, Dave and I have 3 children, and they drain all our finances. And especially Dave with his massive coke habit. He's No, he doesn't have a coke habit. But we do have 3 kids, and both of us. So, I mean, the chances of us getting away together for a tropical island vacation are slim to nothing. So we're lucky we could go see Talus on your radio.
That's right. Lucky we could go see Talus.
Do some Talus was our vacation. That sounds great, though. Please report back to us and let us know how it was, and perhaps Sammy and Patty Smythe can sing a duet and have a beer and bitch about Eddie. That would be funny, wouldn't it?
That would be. That's a very 80s show.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah.
I bet you that would be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure, you know who?
Be a lot of fun.
It does sound great, and I bet you Eddie Trunk will probably do his Access TV show, because he does those a festival show. He probably will do one of those on there. And he's also, he's so good close friends with Sammy and Michael Anthony, as he reminds us every 2 minutes. So I'm sure he'll be hanging out. I'm sure he'll be hanging out with those guys. So on to letter number 8. This comes from David Roberts. And he says, you guys were talking about Eddie Trunk, and subject to 1984 and the song Jump specifically. I had a few thoughts I wanted to share with you. I remember him talking about when the album came out, how it basically drove him crazy hearing Jump and how poppy it was. And all of a sudden there were these brand new Van Halen fans. And I think he was going through something that you can best describe as, who are you and what did you do with my favorite band syndrome? It's not that dissimilar to what a lot of sudden Metallica fans felt when Enter Sandman came out. All of a sudden Metallica was everybody's favorite band, and you're thinking, no, that song sucks. So I think really what he has is bad memories of this song. He can get over that hump. I think he'd be able to appreciate the album for the gem that it is. David Roberts. That's a really good point, David. And look, Van Halen's legend and fan base grew, and they wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that song and that album. I think there would also be no Van Hagar, maybe because that song and that album catapulted them to such great heights that it really put them on a strong forward path. And the same for Metallica. I love Jump and I love Enter Sandman. I'm a huge fan of both bands. I don't think either song hurt either band. I think they're undeniable quality hits. I think everybody should stop whining and pull up their pants. What do you think, Dave?
I always think people should stop whining and pull up their pants.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, if we stopped whining, we wouldn't have anything to talk about on the podcast.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
So that's the hypocritical part of the show. So, look, Eddie Trunk or anyone else is entitled to their opinion, but I mean, that song definitely, like you said, Van Halen got a lot of fans out of that one, for sure.
That's for sure. Letter number 9 comes from Chi-Town George McReynolds. He says, Dave, you old dog you. I have something to share for what it's worth as a Van Halen fanatic and a super fan like you guys. I feel in my heart that they are done. It's not easy to convey. However, I think there is nothing left for them to really say. The only reason I see them getting together is if Mike is fully on board for a tour and an album. But I hope I'm wrong. It just doesn't seem like anything will happen. The guys are older and might not have the real desire to tour anymore. I hope I'm wrong. We shall see. Chi-Town George. Well, I say hi, Chi. And we...
No.
And then, as Billy Joel says, you may be right, but I may be crazy. Listen to me. Do we want a Van Halen tour? Yes, of course we do. We need closure, baby. We need a little bit of something to put us right over the edge. We need one last spin on the dance floor before you take us home and bang us.
I think you started St. Patrick's Day early, is what I think.
Oh.
I do think George has a point where the thrill of touring is less and less thrilling
that's for sure.
as you get older.
That's right.
It's really, I mean, it's a grind when you're younger, so it's definitely a grind when you're older.
Yep.
So I could definitely see that being less of an attraction. I don't think that they think it's an all or nothing proposition with Mike. I think they would sooner tour with Wolf than they would with Mike.
Yeah, I really do.
So I think that is way more likely. But yeah, as more time and time goes on and you hear less and less of an announcement, it does make you wonder if this is really it. But I think there's at least one more show out there that they're going to do. I think there's something.
There's something. I really think that they're trying to tie Wolf's solo album with the Van Halen thing, and they don't quite know what it is yet. And it's like they want to do something. They want to do it right. They want to get big money, and they haven't found the right mixture yet. I don't think we're going to see anything this summer. That's my guess.
Man, if they're trying to tie in his solo album with Van Halen,
yeah.
I don't think, let the solo album do the solo album thing and let the Van Halen do the Van Halen thing.
Yeah.
I think trying to tie them in together is too hard, unless you're willing to have Wolf open up as a solo act. But that's a lot for somebody to be the opening band and then be the main band.
I always wondered, what if Wolf took over Van Halen and he became Eddie, and then they got Alex's son on drums?
Oh, have you been talking to Gene and Paul again? Don't even, Paul. Don't even, Dave. Don't even. No, but you know what that is? That's a tribute band. That's like the Cream. That's like the Sons of Cream.
Yep.
That's out there now.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about.
That's exactly what that is.
Right.
Okay, and we are on to letter number 10, which comes from Dave Moses, the fourth Dave. And he says, I was actually wondering if you could discuss or comment on the following. Can Dave sing? Jokes aside, tired of hearing shit about Noel, etc., basically saying he flat out can't. I know his voice has gone from borderline to sucky from the late 80s to now, but classic Van Halen Dave. Your take, can he sing? I hear melodies, I sing along, so what, he sucks? This is bullshit. Keep up the stellar work. Well, here's the thing on Dave. This is how it goes. Dave can sing, yes. Dave is a specific type of singer. He is a stylistic vocalist. Sammy is more of a full-blown, more traditional singer. Dave has a style and tone that is all his own. He sings a lot of attitude. He has sort of a signature flair. A lot of what he does live is misleading because live, Dave is ADD, he's on point with the song, then he gets distracted, then he comes back in, he's a little uneven live. But when he focuses, he's great. Now, is he the greatest singer in the world? No, but he has a certain flavor and sound and attitude. And people have to understand that you can't compare apples to oranges. Sammy and Dave, even though they're rock singers, they're totally different things. Sammy is a singer, like a more traditional singer with a whole range and everything. Dave's not like that. Dave's a totally different stylistic thing. It's similar as Vince Neil. Vince Neil has a certain flavor and vibe, and whereas John Corabi can sing the living hell out of Vince Neil, but again, it's just, it's an attitude and a tone that kind of matches Vince with the rest of the guys in Motley Crue. So, what do you think, Dave?
If we're talking about like classic era Dave could definitely sing.
Yeah.
And anyone who says like David Lee Roth could never sing, in my opinion, is just talking out of their butt. It was never like that. Dave could sing. Nobody was going to confuse him with Ronnie James Dio, but he could definitely sing. Now, admittedly, as time went on, he would take shortcuts, the whole I forgot the word shtick, telling stories, and all that stuff. Yes, definitely happened. And recently, Dave doesn't quite sound right. He doesn't stay in his wheelhouse. If he just stayed in his range a little lower, he'd be fine. But he doesn't like to do that. He likes to jump around. In my opinion, it's just not working for him anymore. Like we said before, if he wants to do that, fine. But I think he really needs to get a vocal coach to help him out with that because it's not working for him. It didn't do him any favors in the 2015 tour. In the 2007 tour, he sounded great. The best he had in years. he focused on his singing. But then I think as time went on, he got more comfortable again, and it was starting to get into Sticky Dave or I'm going to take chances Dave. Maybe that worked in the old days, not so much anymore. So if he stays in his wheelhouse, gets some coaching on how to do it, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't do that, I'm just concerned the next tour will be more of the same, because there were definitely some cringeworthy moments on the last tour where even I was like, oh, man.
Okay, that's cool. And we are on to letter number 11, which comes from Vinny Pasculi from New Jersey. Good afternoon. I just got done sandblasting and listening to your very latest podcast in its entirety, straight through. And it was a very, very enjoyable listen as usual. I never take this podcast for granted. What a gift you guys put out every month. Just had to let you know how much it's appreciated. Thank you, Vinny. I appreciate it. Vinny, as always, you're one of our greatest supporters. We want to thank you. It's a pleasure to have you as a listener. Dave, you have any comments to Vinny?
Thank you, sir. You must be going deaf listening to our podcast and sandblasting at the same time.
Can you imagine? Unbelievable.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, it's nice to know. Vinny does some hardcore work, man. So it's nice to know that we can keep him company while he's doing that. Letter number 12 comes from a gentleman by the name of Eric Frazier, and he says, hey guys, love listening to your show, and we have heard every episode. I want to share a few things with you that fall under Did You Ever Notice? And there's something cool for Van Halen fans. Number 1, Running with the Devil car horns. You Really Got Me vocals. Sounds weird, but stay with me. If you listen to the beginning of Van Halen 1 with the car horns, before they start dipping in pitch, and then listen to the background vocals on You Really Got Me at the 35-second mark, there's a strong similarity. The background vocals in You Really Got Me chorus are forming a similar harmony like the car horns at the beginning of the album. Number 2, the Roland Chire remixes. Not sure if you ever mentioned these on your show before, but these remixes have made the rounds on various Van Halen forums a few years ago. These are super creative remixes of Dave and Sam era tunes, intertwining one signature riff into the next, and does fun stuff like putting signature Ed solos over different Van Halen songs. Example, like putting Eruption guitars over Hot for Teacher drums. You can find a few examples on SoundCloud. Thanks for everything, Eric Frazier. Did you ever hear that, Dave?
Oh, yeah, I love them.
Oh, yeah?
Those are brilliant, of the way he mixes Van Halen songs together from the Dave and the Sammy era.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. I would if you could find them on SoundCloud, I definitely recommend them highly.
And regarding your thing about the car horns, I never noticed that before, I got to be honest with you, but I don't really hear it, but I have to take a listen again so you guys can check that out. On to letter number 13 from James Pacheco. Thank you for this podcast. You guys are the best. This is really not a what-if question because I don't want Dave to get pissed off. But what do you think will happen when Wolfie takes over the catalog? I think Wolfie understands social media and legacy, but his dad and uncle are probably holding him back. Well, the question is, will Wolfie take over their catalog? It all depends on how Wolf's career goes. If he's successful with it as a solo artist, he might blow it off and focus on his own stuff. But if he's into working on his dad's catalog, then perhaps he would either sell it off to someone who will handle it, or he'll curate it himself. That is really sort of up in the air. We don't know really what's going to happen. I think he would probably want to curate it because he's pretty close to his dad and all that stuff. But what do you think, Dave?
Well, I agree that I think almost anybody has more of a legacy attitude than Ed and Al. So,
yeah.
Number one. So I think there would be more stuff coming out for that. And then, again, as you pointed out, yeah, quite frankly, if his solo career doesn't go well, or even if it does go well, but the money train drives up, and there's money to be made in releasing some lost Van Halen stuff to pay the bills,
right?
Then that will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Letter number 14 comes from a guy by the name of Devon Miller. And he says, I've been a long-time listener and have been listening since the beginning of the podcast. I listened to the rundown of the 1984 album, and one thing I was hoping you would mention when talking about House of Pain was the original Gene Simmons demo of House of Pain ends with the car horns that segue right into Running with the Devil. I always found it ironic that these two songs bookended the first Van Halen era from 1978 to 1980.